I'm back in the chair because I'm going to be showing some Excel to you as we go through these slides. And I also want to emphasize that this Excel chart, I'm sorry, slide deck spreadsheet that I'm going to be using is also available on D2L. And you may want to go play with this yourself, particularly on how you compute the IRR, because computing the IRR is one of those fundamental things I want you to be capable of doing as you progress through the course. And you're obviously going to need it in the Solar Shield case as well. So now what I want to discuss is how some of these deal terms get played out in practice, in money. The chart that you see now is the perfect world of pricing. In other words, you have to raise money a couple of times, and each time it's at a higher share price or higher valuation until finally the company goes public and everybody gets rich. So that's the perfect world. So let me explain that to you with this example. We're going to assume that the founders go to an angel group and raise $1 million to get their company off the ground in a Series A funding. The angels get 1 million shares of preferred stock, and the capitalization table shows the founders and employee pool for bonuses and all that is 3 million shares. 2 years later, the company is doing great. They go out and raise money from a small venture capital firm, $3 million to be exact, at $3 a share, or 3 times what the angels bought in at. Which means they add another 1 million shares onto the capitalization table. And then 3 years later, the company is acquired by Big Co, whatever that means, for $40 million. You may want to keep this slide handy as we step into the Excel. Now let me show you what that looks like in an Excel realm. In the A round, the founders' employee pool have 3 million shares. The angels buy 1 million shares of the company at $1 a share. The implied valuation of the company from that deal is $4 million. And the way you simply find that out is to say, how many shares did they buy at this $1 a share? That kind of sets the price. There's 4 million shares total. So 4 million shares at $1 a share would be $4 million. Another way that is sometimes expressed, and I'm just going to work it up here in this area, is that the angels got 25% of the company in return for $1 million. So you would simply take, from a formula perspective, the price paid, $1 million, divided by the percentage of the company they bought, 0.25 or 25%, and that would show you $4 million. Two different ways to both get the implied valuation. Doesn't matter which you use. So now we have the VC come in a couple of years later. They buy another 1 million shares. So another 1 million shares are added on the capitalization table. The company issues another 1 million shares at $3 a share. And so now there's a total of 5 million shares outstanding. So 3 million with the founder's employee, 1 million with the angels, and 1 million with the VCs. At $3 a share, again, I can work that same value. So now if I know that there's 5 million shares available, the latest price is $3 a share, that would add up to $15 million. Again, I can work it using my formula going, all right, the VCs invested $3 million, and in return, they now own 20% of the company, or 1 million shares of the 5 million shares, so 0.20, 15. So now we are 2 years later, and Big Co comes in and buys the company for $40 million. So this isn't an implied valuation, this is an actual valuation of the company. Given that there are 5 million shares of stock outstanding, that means that they paid $8 a share. Well, how much does each party walk away with? Well, the founders and employee pool has 3 million shares, so 3 million times $8 a share, 24 million. 1 million shares for the angel, 1 million shares for the VC. So they each walk away with $8 million. What's that look like in terms of return? Well, to do that, we do the internal rate of return. Up on the top, you have me break out the years. I could make this a lot more complicated, but I'm going to choose to make it simple and simply say the first money in goes in year 0, then year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the Angels put in $1 million in year 0. Very important to include the minus sign. If you don't, it will goof things up, which I will show you in a minute. Then at the end of year 2, $3 million come in by the VC. To be perfectly accurate, I should do this by months of the year and show that that money came in the 12th month of that year. Again, that makes it more complicated, and I think you're in favor of me making this a little bit simple. So we'll simply show the $3 million in year 2. There are 2 more years, so no money. They neither invested any money nor did they receive any money. And so now in year 5, the Angel gets back $8 million and the VC gets back $8 million. To compute the IRR, you use this formula, equals IRR, and then you simply highlight the cash flows, put another parentheses, or just hit return. And what this says is that the Angels received a 52% IRR, internal rate of return, or annual rate of return over the course of the investment. So this is a great investment that made the Angels money. For the VCs, they came in a little bit later, took a little bit less risk, and still had a very nice return of 39% annually. So you might be surprised that the return isn't different, given that the Angels only put in $1 million and the VCs put in $3 million. But remember, there were these 2 years here where the Angels' money was already at work, and this is computing an annual rate of return. So the longer you have money, the lower, if you get the same amount of money back, the lower the rate of return is going to be. So this is the perfect world. This is what you want to have happen. The founders did very well. The Angels did very well. The VCs did very well. In the next video, I'm going to show you a less happy case.